Awesome. Man, this thing's a lot of fun. Every once in a while, you come across something that's a lot of fun, that's cheap, effective, and practical. That doesn't happen very often. But I'm digging this. This is my first Tomahawk. This is the Cold Steel Frontier Hawk. It's got a 22-inch handle, American hickory. It's got a 6-inch head, 3¼ inch cutting blade. It's drop forged, differentially treated. It's a little harder on the cutting face than it is back here where the handle comes in. That allows you to keep a nice edge on here, and the rear remains somewhat pliable to absorb shock. I don't know what else to say. I've only had it for 2 days, but I'm digging it. And just another cool item from Cold Steel. It's great. Thought I'd do a little video on it and run it through some of the things I've been doing for the last day and a half, and show you why I'm so impressed. Right, talking about the Cold Steel Frontier Hawk. My first Tomahawk. Now, I'm not saying this is the best Tomahawk out there, because, well, I don't know. But I will tell you, I'm pretty impressed with this thing. As it comes out of the box, it's got a pretty decent finish on it. Looks to me to be maybe some kind of epoxy paint. I'm not sure. You can see I've used this thing quite a bit in the last day or day and a half. And it seems to be holding up pretty well. Which, you know, for the price, it kind of surprised me. I figured it'd just be a cheap paint. The one thing I don't like, the set screw. Took that out, threw it away. Just gonna eat up the backside of your shaft there. This is a tension fit tool, kind of like a Maddox or a pick, from what I understand. And you don't need a setting device. Put a little tape underneath it though, one to protect it if you're throwing or you miss what you're hitting. Just be careful when you're putting any kind of covering down here that you keep a watch above and below for splits in the shaft. You can definitely put something better on there. I've seen all kinds of cool stuff, you know, rawhide wrapping or copper wire wrapping, whatever. This is what I had, so that's what I used. Out of the box, it does not come with a sheath. That's kind of an important thing. You can buy them from Cold Steel for, I don't know, I think $5, whatever. But easy enough to make. Definitely want that. One, it's going to protect your edge, and it's going to protect yourself, so you don't slice your finger open. I learned that the hard way yesterday, and your other equipment that might be near it. So let's get the basic stuff out of the way, and then show you why I'm impressed with this. I mean, I'll tell you right now, as lightweight as this thing is, from reading it, I was really not expecting it to be a really effective cutting tool, and I've been pleasantly surprised. Does great. So let's get the basic stuff out of the way. I'm going to kind of rate this as a knife, or test it initially as a knife. The two basic things that I think a knife should be able to do, or another cutting edge weapon, or tool, should say, and that's starting a fire and building a shelter. Those are the basic things, and this has definitely got to be able to perform those. And it does, but don't take my word for it. I'll show you. And it's starting to hail. Good. See if we can get in there. Get the fire steel. Now this is a little different than a knife. Obviously it's a completely different type of tool, and because of that I'm going to allow, or make this an exception to my rule of not using your cutting edge to start your fire, simply because the grind on this and the type of tool it is, I don't think is, it's not as sharp, and you don't need to worry about scuffing it up a little bit with your fire steel. So maybe later in the future I'll do something on the back edge back here so I can use this to strike with. But for now, I'm just going to test it as is. And hopefully get something going here. A little awkward. But definitely do the job. So, test number 1 passed. It will start a fire. And as I usually do, the thing I like about this is it is a long-handled tool, kind of big, but it can still do some fine work. So if you want to strip some bark to make some cordage, still does a decent job. I'm using it just as I would, say, a knife here. Just kind of going through the motions, showing you, using it from the head side. That it's still fairly easily, even with that long handle on there, it's pretty easily controlled. And you can do some detail work. I wouldn't say as good as a solid knife, but it definitely gets the job done. Alright, so that's out of the way. And as you can see, it works good for those tasks. Let's move on to some bigger stuff. Alright, now, obviously I'm not going to be out here trying to chop a cord of wood, but what I would be using this for is gathering some decent sized firewood for a camp out. So let's just see how she does on some, I don't know, 3-4 inch, fairly dry pine. Not the hardest wood, but just see how she does. Kind of a pain doing this by myself, but hopefully I can still get the point across. Excellent. Now you can see you really get some momentum going with this longer handle. That's the cool thing about this. If you want it a little bit shorter, a little bit longer, just get another handle. See if we can find some more. Stuff's even a little wet. Excellent. Alright, so after some smaller stuff, maybe something you'd be using for a ridgepole or shelter, making a spear, making traps, whatever. Sometimes this can be a pain to get, especially if you're trying to get the dead stuff. Let's see how it goes. pretty decent. Alright, so we just went out and secured us a bunch of firewood, a bunch of sticks for our shelter or whatever, using the cold steel hawk, prairie hawk that is. You know, it's not the greatest axe in the world, but it's a hawk, it's a tomahawk, and does pretty dang good for its weight, I think. I mean, you know, that's just my opinion. But now let's talk a little bit about processing this stuff. And this is where I think this thing really shines. These are the size poles you're going to be, well, I would be using to build a shelter, maybe build a cot or whatever. And this is what I really dig about this thing. I mean, look at that. 2 hits. That's a pretty beefy sized stick. You know, not to say you couldn't do it with another tool, but you know, then you don't have to swing this real hard. Efficiency. If I can hit the dang thing. You know, I'm really not swinging that hard. You can do this as long as you needed to without overextending yourself, I think. Of course, you can I think you get the point. It works great. I did touch this up with a stone. I was out here for about half the day yesterday, chopping stuff, cutting stuff, just generally giving it a good test. Make sure I can rely on it. And granted, I mean, that's only a couple hours, so time will tell how my feelings for this may or may not change. But I did touch it up with a stone, about 5 minutes. That's all it took. Get it back to, as you've seen, fairly sharp. Comes pretty sharp from the factory. I think that's pretty fair. You know, I be realistic about it. It's not going to cut for days and days and days without touching the edge up, just like a knife. But I think it holds up really well. Now, I haven't tried splitting with it, so I usually don't split if I'm doing a small fire, just because, I mean, there's so much small dead wood around that, you know, it's usually not a need. But in a really cold environment, you're gonna want some thicker stuff to keep you warm throughout the night, bigger coal base, etc., etc. So let's see how she splits. I don't expect this to do fantastically well with that. I mean, it's just not really designed for that. I have a feeling it'll work pretty well, reasonably well. There you go. That's good. Good sized piece of wood. For my fire anyways. Usually don't get real crazy. Excellent. Just liking it more and more. take a little pause, gonna wipe the camera off. It's raining, getting a little wet. Alright guys, sorry for the interruption. Gonna try and get through this video. So far we've had a pack of stray dogs scare the crap out of my kids. Then it started raining, so I had to put a tarp up for them. Hey, it brings me to a point, man, or people. Take your kids out. They love this stuff. Take them out, let them enjoy nature. Get them out of the TV, get them out of the video games. Anyways, hopefully the camera won't get so wet it stops working. Talking about the cold steel, and I'm going to show you one of the key reasons why I got this dude. This is my pack here, and I like this little set of straps right here. See, it just fits nice. Hangs down a little bit, yeah. Could cut the handle down, but for right now I'm going to leave it the way it is. This is why I really need to get a scabbard for this. I already cut my hand on there once. So that's a neat little deal for my pack anyways. So really it doesn't take up any room, and it just, man, it's working out great. In the Pacific Northwest, and there is a very distinct difference in regions that I go to. You've seen some of my other videos. Sometimes I'm in the scrubland, and that is a completely different area than up here in the woods. And then if I go north a couple hours, that is high mountain rocky forest. A little bit different than this. This is kind of a lowlands rocky forest. So the whole deal that I'm trying to do is trying to better my gear. Make sure, I guess I'm trying to put together one kit that does it all for all the different areas that I like to go to. And that's the whole reason of me doing this video deal. Kind of just learn as I go and share some of that with other people. We've talked about this as a tool, and I think it works great as a lightweight tool. And now I want to talk about it as a weapon, because that is originally, that's what this design is. It's a weapon. It's a tomahawk. It's been used, I mean, it's been used in many different cultures. I'm not an expert on this. I'm not trying to be. I just did some quick fact finding, and you can see this basic design is in a lot of cultures, a lot of ancient times, starting with a rock. Some dude got brilliant, put it on the end of a stick, realized you get a lot more effective use out of that rock by putting it on the end of a stick. Graduates up to bone, and then to stone, and eventually up to a hardened metal. So the design's proven. Been around for a long time. That's great. As far as a weapon goes, I like it. It's good. It's a good idea. It's a sharp thing on the end of a stick, and I kind of talked about this in my cold steel Bushman review. I talked about giving yourself distance from whatever it is that may be aggressive towards you, that you need to fend off, be that a two-legged or a four-legged aggressor. So with the extra leverage and the distance, just a little bit extra, give you a little bit extra edge. Not to say that you can't use a knife or a machete or anything. I really don't think a pocket saw is going to be effective as a weapon. But hey, you could use it. Definitely, anything. I mean, a rock, a stick, whatever. But this seems to be a really efficient design. The other thing I want to hit on this is, as compared to a hatchet or an axe, this has a fairly large opening. And should you break this handle, completely possible, I could see you sitting down and finding a decent piece of stick. Might not be as, I mean, in my region, we have mostly softwoods. I mean, we've got pines, and we've got basically softwoods. We don't have a lot of hardwood. There's some brushwood out here, though, that is fairly hard. And I could see sitting down and grabbing a piece of this that's dried and aged, and you could even use the head of the axe if you didn't have a knife, and you could whittle yourself down a pretty decent handle if you break this out in the field. That's great. I love things like that. I'm a big fan of I mean, number one, I guess I'll get into this a little bit. Number one, if it doesn't fit in my pack or on my pack without being a hindrance, I don't carry it, because this is what I have. This is what I carry. It's kind of on the large side. It's not a huge pack, you know, but it is a little on the large side. But if it doesn't fit in that or on that in a reasonable manner, it doesn't go with me. And the other thing is, if it doesn't perform more than one function, it doesn't go with me. The only exception to that rule would be, say, a flashlight. Simply because a flashlight, in my mind, is an invaluable tool if you get stuck in the woods at night, or if you need to use this in an emergency situation. I don't want to get into my philosophy on my bag right now. Save that for another video. But that's the main key components to picking this out. One, it's small and light enough to set on my pack, and if I cut the handle down, it would fit in my pack. Number two, I guess not numbers. One of the other main key features of this is that it's self-reliant. If I break the handle, I still have a fairly effective tool. That's still a cutting edge. I can still cut with it. I can still, you know, perform, you know, duties similar to that of a knife. Not as well. This won't work as well as a knife, but it will work. And it can also be used to build another handle. Great, excellent, okay. And it performs many tasks. And there's other styles out there. But I just picked this one up because it was at the local surplus store. I paid 35 bucks for it. And I like it so much. Definitely think I'm going to pick up another, at least one, maybe two. Try some other designs out. But this is the one I like the most because it's the smallest, lightest, not the smallest and lightest, but for the amount of cutting edge that you get, I like this particular style. But I might try some other ones. Might try the Norse Hawk. Might try the Trail Hawk. Those look like some pretty promising tools. There you go. Zuki 1 here, trying to do a on-site review. Cold Steel Prairie Hawk. Keep forgetting that name. I've had fun today. Had fun with it yesterday. And if you've never had a Tomahawk, I suggest go out and get one, just for the plain fun of it.